What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another exciting video where today we're going to be ordering some coral. This video is going to be very exciting because today I'm doing something that I've never done before, other than aquatic plants related. We're skipping the fish and going straight to coral. The reason for me wanting to actually order online versus like going to a frag swap or buying from somebody local, first off, I don't really trust people I don't know to sell me something that doesn't have something nasty on it.
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm going to kill you, give me $200.
And number two, the only frag swap this month actually is on the same day as a reptile expo that I wanted to take you guys to as well. The main reptile expo for Ohio that I go to in Columbus is actually expanding this year. This is the first month they'll be in 2 different buildings, so it's basically twice as large.
Bigger and better and stronger than ever before.
And so I want to take you guys to this reptile show. Who knows if we'll buy anything? They have good vendors there that we buy food from for our reptiles, and so we pretty much go there a couple times a year and get a lot of frozen stuff. In the past, I've bought snakes, a savanna monitor, so who knows what we'll see this time, especially it being twice as large. But since the frag swap is on the same day as the reptile expo, and we definitely want to go to the reptile expo, about an hour and a half away, we really can't go to both of them. So I'll give you an update in a little bit on the corals that we already have in the 125 and how they're doing. They're actually doing very well, and that's why I wanted to get some more from a vendor that I met at the very first frag swap we went to. But I really liked the quality of the corals from this vendor. I'll probably do more online buying in the future. We'll wait until, a little bit, because who knows how much we'll spend today. I've got the laptop here. We're gonna scavenge the internet here and try to find some good deals, and I can already see classic corals, $10 and $15. You cannot beat $10 corals.
Shut up and take my money.
Nationwide shipping, free orders on orders over $180. I guess we're going to be buying at least $180 because who wants to pay for shipping?
Why?
Because I'm not going to, period, the end.
I don't think I actually mentioned. So this seller is Goat Corals. Jim, I believe, is the owner. I met him at the first frag swap in Dayton. We bought 2 zoas from him and a blasto, and he threw in a free zoa. Overall, the best value that I've seen, honestly, is his place. So we're looking at high quality corals at a really great price. So let's see what we can find here. We're gonna look at everything they've got, but I'm not gonna tell you what I'm ordering, so it'll be a sort of a surprise. And then when we get them, we'll do an unboxing and I'll show you exactly what we got. Let's look at his website here. The landing page looks nice. We've got LPS, SPS, Zoes and Pallies, Zoas and Pallies, mushrooms and soft corals, and what you see is what you get. I'm gonna go LPS. I've seen a few tanks that have some really nice red Goniopora, and for some reason the red Gonies, they're striking. Some of the other corals have more of a purpley or peachy tone to the red, but a lot of the red corals that I've seen have been Gonies. When you see them in person, they're nice. $47.40. That's not a bad price. There was a pink Goni that I wanted at the last frag swap, and I believe it was $110, maybe 4 or 5. I think I have a video of it. It was 4 or 5 heads, 4 or 5 polyps or whatever, and it can be kind of a hard coral to care for. We probably won't be doing that just so soon. We have a nice cherry chalice. This is, I believe, the blasto that we bought from him at the first frag swap was the Merletti. He honestly has quite a good selection. I don't know anything about what his farm looks like, but from what I see here, really nice photos, pretty wide selection too. He's got multiple pages with multiple different kinds of corals, so we're looking good so far. Mummy-eyed chalice, that's nice. Space Invader Pictinia. Here a lot of people have Space Invader Pictinias. So that's the LPS coral selection. The one thing I haven't seen a lot of is hammers and torches. I was on this website a few days ago, and I did see he had a hammer. It was a yellow hammer, and it's not on here anymore. So he is selling his stuff, which is good. Let's just go to here. Okay. I think it's safe to say we could try another bird's nest because the corals that we have that are looking good are still looking good, and they're growing. What happened with the bird's nest is we basically lost 98% of that coral, and we were down to there were basically 2 little polyps. So we really only lost 2 corals that we bought initially. And I think that was mainly just due to the instability of the tank, getting the alkalinity pretty stable. It was fairly stable, but I was dosing by hand, and I think there was some fluctuations. But since I got an Ecotech Versa to dose Kalkwasser, I have switched over from 2-part to it's running completely on Kalkwasser right now. I go through about a gallon every 3 days. So it's not very much, but it's very consistent. I think it's fair to say that we could get another bird's nest, different color maybe, Stylophora, something like that. Pavona looks cool. The other Monty that I have, the red one, is growing very quickly. So that's the SPS. We're right after the holidays, so I'm sure a lot of the stuff he has sold out of. Okay, let's go to some mushrooms and soft corals. I don't have any green star polyps. You know, you really can't go wrong. So we might end up getting some green star polyp. We already have a couple mushrooms. We have a Redactus and we have a Recordia Yuma. Other than this red one, I've wanted a red mushroom. Is that red Ghani again? All right, Zoas and Pallies. He has a lot of Zoas on his displays. Yeah, we got 3 pages of Zoas, so definitely a lot to look through. So the first time we bought Super Sunflowers from him, these are doing terrific. Utter Chaos. This is one that I've wanted. Candy apples are cool too. I think we might get some Zoas. Okay, so that's Zoas. Have we seen everything? Oh, let's go to what you see is what you get. Okay, might want to get some Acans. Well, Micromusa. This is an interesting one. We will definitely be able to find some stuff. There are definitely some that I've seen that I missed and I didn't get a chance to order. So we'll have to keep watching in the future and see if there's anything new that he gets in. I should mention that they are out of Indianapolis, Indiana. So it's really not that far from where we are. A few hours with overnight shipping, you know, that should not be too hard on the corals, even considering the time of year this is, being pretty cold outside. We're gonna look around on here a little bit more and throw some things in the cart, get these guys checked out, and then in a few days when these arrive, we're gonna pick this back up and we'll do an unboxing and see what we got.
Many unbearable hours later.
Today's the day. The order is out for delivery. The corals should be here hopefully pretty soon so we can get this going. What I want to do now is do a water change, take 20 gallons out and refill the quarantine tank. Like we did last time, I want to get as much water from the display tank into the quarantine tank as I can so that, you know, the water in here is pretty good. And the other option is mixing up another batch of salt water, which wouldn't really, you know, it's not going to have any nitrate or phosphate in it, which some of these corals that I ordered were soft corals and they're going to prefer some nutrients in their water. So we're going to take water from the display tank, put it in here, and then we're going to mix up a new batch of salt water for the 125. We've got our DIY frag rack in here. We've got a thermometer, digital thermometer, and then we've got another like analog thermometer, a little power head, heater, and then I've got the filter. I was just gonna clean that filter and put the filter back on. We're just gonna put a little bit of mechanical filtration and some activated carbon in there, and that should be fine. Other than that, we're gonna leave the corals once we get them in this tank for a few days, just to make sure there's nothing on them, and then we'll redip them a few days later, maybe 5, 6, 7 days later, and then we'll get them in the display tank.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
It's here, guys. We got the box. We have the package. This is so exciting. I've never ordered anything in the mail before. Fish, let alone corals.
It came! It finally came!
I wanted to have already had the water in the quarantine tank. We're gonna have to do this really quick. What we're gonna need to do is unbox the corals. We're gonna get them in the sump up to temperature so that they don't sit in this hopefully not too cold box. We're gonna get them in the sump so that they can start to acclimate to the water temperature. We're not gonna release them in here because we still wanna dip them. And then we'll have to whip up a batch of salt water real quick, which honestly shouldn't take very long. So let's get that going. I've got water pumping from my RO barrel over there, all the way over here into this 20-gallon tank. This is the quarantine tank. We're gonna mix up new fresh water in here, and then we're gonna take these 4 buckets, 5, 10, 15, 20, and empty out 20 gallons of water from the display tank into those buckets, and then pump this new freshly mixed temperature adjusted salt water from here into the tank. The reason for that, again, is just to do a beneficial water change on the 125, but also get the quarantine water to be exactly as it's going to be in the display tank once the corals are moved to it. If I just mix up a fresh batch of salt water for the quarantine tank and then put the corals in there, the water is going to be completely different than what they're going to be transitioned to again in the 125. I want to give the corals as easy a time to acclimate as possible, not have to do it basically twice if we have 2 different types of waters. Additionally, I got a different light for up here, which is actually the same ones as on the 125. So not only will they have the same exact spectrum of light from the same lights in quarantine as they will in their display tank. I felt like 7 days is kind of a long time to go without, you know, food essentially. If they don't have a good enough light, then for 7 days while they're in quarantine, they're not basically gonna be eating anything. So we're gonna give them the same light as they'll get in the main tank. All of this basically just to try to cut down on stress that the corals are gonna experience. So once we get all that water pumped into the 20-gallon tank, then we're gonna mix salt and let that water come up to temperature. And while the water's coming up to temperature, we're gonna unbox these corals and see what's inside our first ever shipment of live corals from the internet. And we'll also need to decide where to put these guys, depending on what we see when we open the box. But I'm also thinking to take some of these rocks from this wall and move them somewhere else, because I don't enjoy the way I stacked these rocks initially, because there's just so much unusable space right there because of the shading. So I think taking a couple of these rocks off the middle will expose a lot of this, so we can have more of like an M shape, and then this is just whatever that is. But we'll have a lot more room once we move these, and we can use some of these rocks as islands for some of the corals that we got. This tank is almost done filling up. We're gonna plug the heater in. Heater plugged in, power head on, helping to mix the water. We're gonna add a second power head, check the temperature. It's probably gonna be really low. Yep, we're gonna add a second heater somewhere. Where's my heater? All right, we've got a heater and we've got another power head we're gonna use to mix the salt water. This guy has a short in it, so I don't use it in the tank anymore. It's not like, I don't think it throws a lot of current in the water, but it's enough to not want to use it. I mean, I'm wearing shoes and I don't feel anything right now. If I was to ground myself, I might feel a little something, but this is not an electrical safety channel. Don't worry about it. What is it? Half a cup of salt per gallon, 10 cups of salt for 20 gallons. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm gonna do about a half a cup on this last one so we can measure it and make sure, because you can always add more salt, you can't take it out. That's good. And then we'll wait for that to mix up, we'll measure it, see where we're at, we can add more. Should also note that before we test the salt water, we should make sure the water is up to temperature, because the temperature of the salt mixing does affect the salinity of your measurement. All right, we're gonna leave that to do its thing. Let's unbox these corals. I'm so excited for this, guys. Let me pull up my list of corals that I bought so I don't accidentally misname anything. Here we go. Woo. Heat pack still warm. Packaging slip. Very tightly packed. Looks good. I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 corals. So our first one, I think this might be a bird's nest. So we got a bird of paradise bird's nest. I think that might be what this is. Nice, that's pretty big. Definitely bigger than the first one I bought. Nice. Since I'm gonna quarantine, I should probably make sure that no water gets in my tank. I'm gonna start putting these in the sump so we can get these acclimating to temperature. So that's the first one. All right, number 2. It's 2 so far. Got another one. This one's gonna be a zoa. Cannot tell what kind of zoa that is yet. It's gonna be another zoa. Okay. So that's 4. I think it might be a space cakes favia. Cool. Okay, so we have all 9. Red TNT and Acropora. I think this guy is that guy. Came off the frag plug. That should be okay. Ooh, these are big. These are the Joaquin Phoenix acans. Bauer Banky. These are kind of big. Okay, that. We have a green here, Pavona. The last one's going to be a Jason Fox Rainbow Stylophora. This guy's pretty decent size too. Sweet. And that's all in the box. So they're all just chilling in here for a second while we finish mixing up the salt water. Once they are temperature acclimated, so we're going to get this cart over here, dip all the new corals, and then get them in. Still got our frag rack from before. It's got a little bit of algae on it, but we're going to put those guys in here. Temperature's looking at 64, so it's not super fast, but that's all right. The salt water needs to mix anyway. Almost there.
One eternity later.
Tomorrow it's going to be 1 week since the corals went into quarantine, and so today I want to work on getting a little bit of this aquascape switched around for some of the corals to be placed in a little bit better spots. So we need at least 2 more rocks for our zoas. That's one we can use. We need somewhere to put the green star polyp. We need to find a place to put the pavona, which already seems to be like growing onto the frag rack after just 7 days. We need to find a spot for the bird's nest, as well as this other bird's nest that we have. This should find a spot, a permanent spot too. There's actually 2 different pieces of this. Favia and Micromusa somewhere. Probably in the shadier areas under one of these islands or one of these rock piles. Put one of those 2, put both of those 2 under there somewhere. But yeah, so the first thing I think I'm gonna do is start looking through these rocks, pulling some of these off, mainly to just get this a little bit less high, because already if we were to put corals on top of this, you know, they've probably only got like 6 inches of growth before they hit the surface. So we're gonna get this height taken down a little bit and then see if any of these rocks will be good to use for placement for the new corals we got.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So this is what I came up with, and I ended up writing some of the names of the corals in some spots where I think I'm going to place them. Pretty good idea for almost everything in here where we want to place it. And I did, like I said I was going to do, and pull some of these rocks off. There was one that I ended up not using. I put it in the sump for now, and I'm thinking of maybe pulling another one of these off. Maybe that one right there. Moving it over here and taking this one out because there's just a lot going on. And I did sort of like to have a bit of a valley in the middle, but I wanted to put the pavona in the middle, and hopefully it'll sort of come out and plate upward like some of the photos I've seen of the green pavona. We'll move the 2 bird's nests that we have here, since they're at a good height, we'll move them to more of a final place. We'll put the corals on here a little bit lower, the ones that need to be a little bit higher in the rockscape but aren't ready for it yet. And then like the acans and the favia, I have a spot for those too. So we're gonna work on getting a few of these corals out and in a acclimation container, float them in the sump for a little while.
Okay, let's go.
We've got all the new corals into the tank. I'll give you guys an update in a week or so and let you know how everything's going. Until then, I've already started the build on the 125-gallon African cichlid tank. Part 1 is going to be fixing up that 125 that I bought, fixing some scratches, getting the stand for the tank finished, and basically getting it ready for part 2 where we scape the tank. And I'm thinking of doing something a little crazy and buying like 100, 200 pounds of Sirius stone for this tank. This is a photo that I've been using for some inspiration. So if you guys want to see that video, make sure you're subscribed, turn on notifications, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.